And do you know, I've never seen such a mess. There was blood, piss, and vomit everywhere. Oh, we're recording, aren't we? Um, right then. Um,
Oh,
welcome.
what a good way to start our Disney special.
Yes, family-friendly stuff.
Blood, piss, and
Uh,
vomit.
so, as we mentioned on the last episode, it was recently Disney Plus Day, followed by a 3-day D23 extravaganza.
Extravaganza.
So we're going to go through that. We're going to have a quick break in the middle with another exclusive interview
Cool.
with a chap called Warren Badensky, who is, amongst other things, an autograph collector.
A
And I
nice
think
and
that
not a nice bloke. I just want to throw that in there now.
thoroughly nice bloke.
Yeah, very nice guy.
We've covered collecting vinyl, steelbooks, movies in general, and all that kind of thing in the past. But one of the things we've never really talked about actually is autographs. So Warren dropped us a line when we put the call out on the last episode for anyone who was a collector, and he said he collects autographs. And I thought, you know what?
Why not?
Why not?
Why
We've
not?
not covered that before, and it's a pretty interesting chat actually. It's
I
something
learned quite a lot.
yeah, it's something I've never personally been that kind of into. So it was interesting to kind of hear how he got into it and what the kind of the autograph collecting community stroke industry is like.
Mm.
So that'll break up our Disney chat, but we've got a lot to get through. So let's crack on.
This is going to be a bumper episode. We're treating you. Episode 6, you got a treat.
Yep.
Obviously, the timestamps are in the various descriptions if you want to skip to just Warren's interview or whatever. But
Indeed.
let's get going.
So, Disney Plus Day.
When was it, Mark? Remind our listeners.
Checks calendar. Disney Plus Day was Thursday the 8th. That was seamless. Thursday the 8th of September, Disney Plus Day.
Yes.
There's generally a load of new stuff.
Before we do jump into Disney Plus Day, it was slightly overshadowed by something in the UK.
I have no idea what
Well, obviously the Queen passing away slightly overshadowed the Disney Plus Day here in the UK, and from what I remember, there wasn't as much going on the internet about Disney Plus Day as there would have been last year.
Sorry, you said she's dead.
I'm sorry to Mark. I know you're a big fan.
They've really kept that quiet.
I know you don't. Yeah, you turn on the telly, no one's talking about it.
You'd never known about it.
No, never know.
Hell.
Or on the plus side,
it's the stuff the mainstream media just doesn't report.
Well, on the plus side, at least the radios aren't playing Adele 24/7 now, because they were.
What the bloody hell?
If I heard Someone Like You another time, I was going to not pay my license fee. Clever. But yes, anyway, just wanted to get that in there. Queen's dead.
So, Disney Plus Day is the kind of day when they drop a load of new stuff onto the Disney Plus service.
It's the anniversary of Disney Plus. That's the point.
Yeah, that's it. And I think, is it 3 years old now?
Yes.
So we got Thor: Love and Thunder following its recent cinema release. So as usual with Disney, they're following a kind of 40-odd, 50-day window between theatrical release and Disney Plus. They're sticking to that, which is cool.
Yep.
And they also released a 1-hour making of for that film. And have you watched that one?
I've watched Thor. We'll come into that, I'm sure, after we recap. I haven't managed to catch Assembled yet.
Okay.
Been a bit busy, as you know.
Yes, indeed. No, that was a good one.
Surely it was just lots of Chris Hemsworths, lots of Chris Hemsworth just standing in front of green. Surely.
And what's wrong with that?
I mean,
you say that like it's a bad thing.
Yeah, but the making of, we've done. It's what we've done for most Marvel films. Stick him in a
mocap
not
in front of green. Actually, no, not.
Was it blue? Was it in front of blue screen?
No, because they use the volume now, don't they?
Did they have? They've moved it into Marvel.
Yeah.
Now I actually might watch it.
There's quite a few bits of it actually use the volume, and it looks, as we've seen before, it looks very good. I mean,
okay.
There's an argument it's been overused, which hopefully Andor will fix. But yeah. Talking of overusing the volume, there's also a making of Obi-Wan Kenobi TV show.
Talking of overusing the volume.
which really it's fantastic technology. Don't get me wrong, but I felt like Obi-Wan really kind of felt constrained, if you know what I mean,
Okay.
by that. But again, loads of fantastic behind the scenes footage, interviews, etc. Obviously, bringing back some iconic characters there.
That'll tell him. Sorry, I'm just having a stroke. Carry
That's
on.
all right. So, yeah, another great behind the scenes documentary. Again, about an hour long. Lots of interviews, footage, etc. So that's always interesting stuff.
You know, I was a big fan of what's his face and what's his face.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah. Thingy and what's it?
Thingy and what's it? Yeah, and
Yeah.
you know, I'm looking forward to seeing how they did make Obi-Wan, even if it is going to be full of the volume. But I'm looking forward to the little, friendship coming back together between Hayden and Ewan. See, I do know their names, and yeah, that's going to be nice. And I
Well,
want to
yeah,
see, and sorry, the new lightsaber tech, which is pretty cool.
yeah. You see a little bit of that. There's some nice kind of scenes of like doing the rehearsal stuff and comparing to the old films that they were in together, and you'd get to see a bit of Hayden Christensen in the suit, so it wasn't
Ooh.
just a stuntman all the time.
Well, we know that because, spoiler alert, if you've not seen Obi-Wan, what have you been doing? He takes his mask off in the last couple of episodes, and
It does
it's
actually.
him.
That's
So
true. That's
dickhead.
true. I mean,
Too strong.
too strong.
Okay, apologies.
So, but
then
no, that is an interesting one.
And they also then snuck in a live-action remake, which I'm saying through gritted teeth because I don't see the point in these. I know it's all to do with licensing and rights, but I don't think we needed a live-action remake of Pinocchio, especially when there's a Guillermo del Toro one coming out as well, isn't there?
There is a stop motion one, yeah, which I'm much more interested in watching.
But Robert Zemeckis' Pinocchio starring Tom Hanks is now out. Again, I am not a live-action Disney fan at the moment. I remember watching The Lion King, and that's still animated. That's not live-action.
Yeah, that's true. That's almost 100% CGI, isn't it?
Yeah, it's the live-action, my ass.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
it's, they are remaking these films, and I guess it is for the next generation of Disney kids. But for fans of the original, and again, the original Disney animation is so iconic.
Yeah. I guess it depends how they do it, right? I mean, if they're just going to do a straightforward remake, let's say, as in this case, then it's purely a financial exercise, right? They've got an existing property, and here they can mine it and remake it. Whereas, in fairness, Cruella, for example, actually wasn't bad,
But it wasn't a remake.
and it wasn't. But it was taking a property that they had.
True. I really enjoyed Cruella, and I'm glad there's
Yeah,
another one.
yeah. So I think when they find different things to do with those properties that they have, I'm more interested. If it's just a straightforward remake, then yeah, what's wrong with the original? And again, I don't have a problem with remakes in principle, but they just seem to be, let's say, wasting opportunities to do something a bit different.
Yeah, no, I'm with you on that.
It's not a film I've watched. It's not one I'm particularly interested in watching. Obviously, Robert Zemeckis' earlier films, Back to the Future trilogy, Roger Rabbit, even probably up to Forrest Gump, far more interesting, far more entertaining. I think he's really kind of not.
Hitting the mark.
Yeah, I think his last few films, have just kind of missed it really. I'd love to see him get back. Obviously, this is primarily live action with some CGI, but I'd love to see him get back into just
Proper
doing
films.
proper films.
I'd like to see him do Forrest Gump 2.
Something like that.
Like,
Something like
jokes
that, yeah.
aside, I sort of said that a bit tongue-in-cheek, but do you know what? I'd love to see what Forrest Gump would be up to now. Obviously, Jenny's dead, so that's
Well,
fine.
there was a book.
Was
sequel.
there?
written by the original
You
author.
know I can't read, so I don't know why
I
you're
think
tell me about books.
I think it was called Gump and Co.
Oh, because
Um,
of the shrimp.
yeah, and I believe they did try and get that, you know, done as a film, but it just kind of never came together. But yeah, leave behind all the kind of I say leave behind all the CGI trickery, but back in the day, Back to the Future had plenty of special effects. But
Or we could get him to do Back to the Future 4.
well,
Over Bob Gale's dead body is the
not that
quote.
we want a Back to the Future for, but yeah, I'd rather get him to do that. I'd rather see him go back to something like that, or like a Roger Rabbit sequel, which again was kind of in development for a long time.
Who
And
would
never
you
happened.
see play? Is it Bob Hope?
Bob Hoskins.
Bob Hoskins. Close.
Mm,
So I saw an article a video the other day of Eddie Murphy.
mm.
Eddie Murphy turned down Who Framed Roger Rabbit,
Did he?
and it came from him himself. He said this, and now he watches it and he's like, "Ah, shit! You know that would have been brilliant." He sort of read the script and went, "Animation, did it? Nah, no, I'm not doing that."
Bob Hoskins. Bob Hoskins. Who could be a new Bob Hoskins? I could throw in a joke answer.
I think Zach Galifianakis.
Oh, I was going to say Tom Hardy, because the way he acts in the Venom films is like
Oh
he's
yeah.
fighting an invisible cartoon character.
So yeah, I see what you mean.
Do you know what I mean?
Pick anybody from Marvel; they only react to green screen. So
Well,
yeah.
that's true. Yeah.
No, I take your point there. I do take your point there, but it'd be somebody like Zach Galifianakis or it'd be fucking James Corden, wouldn't it?
Oh Christ on a bike.
Fucking hell.
Yeah, let's
Move on.
We don't want Roger Rabbit 2.
No.
Let's move on. Yeah, so they dropped a new animated series of Cars, which we mentioned before, which brings back the original stars. Not watched any yet, but I might take a dip in some of those.
I think I'll watch Cars 3 first, and depending on how I feel after that,
Okay.
I might give it a go. Because yes, as we've talked about before, Cars has been received as one of the worst in the Pixar franchise, and Cars 1 came out when I was much younger. So I enjoyed it, obviously. Cars 2 came out slightly older. Didn't enjoy it. Cars 3 came out as an adult. I haven't seen it. So,
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
Mr. the Cable Guy.
So then they brought out a 10-minute-ish preview, let's say, of Andor, which had kind of split 5 minutes of behind-the-scenes stuff, which, going back to what we're talking about with the volume, this really, yes, there's some green screen and there's some volume stuff in there, but they're going to real locations.
That's cool.
You know, there's stuff. I believe it was shot in the UK, and there's stuff where they're going like out. There's scenes that are taking place on at reservoirs, like dams. You know, they're kind of scaling down the wall of the dam kind of thing, and it's like a real one. It's it's not in a studio kind of thing.
Right, okay.
And you can tell they're really out there on location or on sets that are outdoors. And I think visually, it's going to look a lot different to the other Star Wars series that have come so far, which is good because they all do look a bit samey at the moment.
Okay, fair enough. Moving on.
Anything else?
Anything else from Disney Day? Well, the Queen died, if I hadn't mentioned it. So, I was a bit too busy paying my respects.
I'm sure you were.
No, it's we're not a political podcast.
Let's not upset anybody.
We've definitely done that by now. But no. Yeah. I mean, it was okay. I mean, there was nothing unexpected.
No.
And, I think we all said Thor's going to drop. In fact, you could probably find me saying it.
Well, it was announced anyway. I mean, there were no surprises, right?
That's it. No surprises.
They said what was going to be launched and released, and it was.
They did do a couple of promotions, so I think you could get like a month for £1 or something like that.
Oh, okay, right,
and or like £1.30 or something. And I'm convinced they did 50% free delivery on Shop Disney.
Oh, okay,
which I know a few friends took full advantage of.
Right. Okay.
But yeah, I mean, it is what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool.
There was one thing I saw, and I don't know whether it was. I don't think it was launched as part of Disney Plus Day, but it was just something I found on there when I just was just flicking around. There's a documentary series from last year, National Geographic, called 9/11: One Day in America,
Right.
and it's I think 5 or 6 episodes, about an hour each, um, looking at obviously the terrorist attacks on September 11th, 2001. So obviously last year it would have been made as part of the 20th anniversary.
Hmm.
Um, and it's an interesting one. It's kind of not quite in real time, but there's certainly the first episode basically follows the first hour or so of the attacks in almost real time, and it's good because it's we've had a lot of documentaries that have that have interviewed politicians, right, and military people and terrorism experts and all that kind of thing. And what this one does is it interviews people who were in the towers, survivors, obviously survivors, firemen, police, the people who are like the first responders, straight there, straight up into the buildings to try and get people out. It uses a lot of um, footage, like from both television news footage, people who were in the area with cameras, and obviously this was back before the day of like high quality camera
Yeah.
phones, right? So it's all kind of VHS quality stuff, and there's some TV news footage on there. Luckily, in a sense, when the attacks were going on, one of the local fire crews were actually being followed by a documentary crew
Wow.
that morning, just going about their day-to-day tasks because they were just making a documentary about the fire crew, right? And literally there's a shot of them holding like a gas meter, a gas monitor detector thing over a manhole cover, and then you hear the roar of an engine and the camera looks up as the plane flies over and hits the first tower.
That's terrifying.
And all the fire crew were like, shit, we need to go, right? So from then on, this documentary crew followed this team and this particular team commander like for the rest of the day.
Wow.
So he's interviewed throughout the whole series, and there's the footage of him like doing the things he's talking about as he's been interviewed. So from that point of view, it's like an incredible, like you're really there with them.
Mm,
They're not
mm.
just talking about it. The camera crew were there every step of the way, kind of thing.
Okay.
And there's some incredible stories. Some of the stuff you've probably heard before if you've watched other documentaries, but there's just some really interesting little. I don't want to kind of say it's exciting stuff, but interesting little
Well,
tidbits of information and things like
considering
that.
I think we've been, being based in the UK, it was reported quite heavily over here, obviously,
Yeah,
and we've had a lot of reports and television programs about it over the, like I say, the last 20 years.
yeah,
So
yeah,
I guess it's strange seeing it from a new perspective, considering everything is already out there.
yeah, yeah.
No, okay, I would probably not watch that personally,
No, that's fair. It's not
because
for everyone, certainly.
it's still harrowing.
It's hard going.
Yeah,
It is hard going. Some of the stuff obviously is there's nothing in the footage that's explicit, let's say, but listening to the stories and
yeah.
listening to them describe a lot of it is hard going, but it is fascinating. And
Oh,
as I
okay.
say, it gives a different insight, a kind of smaller scale,
Hmm.
not the whole geopolitical war on terror
Sure, sure.
level, but like the people who were there, the people who were working in the buildings. That level of individual stories is really interesting,
Okay.
if that's your kind of thing.
Well,
So
let's break that conversation up.
let's we'll move on to our interview then, which is
Yes.
with recorded a week or so ago now, actually, as we're recording this one, with Warren. Um, Initially, Warren is being helped or by a very chatty child who mysteriously disappears. I'm not going to speculate on how or where, but it's really interesting. It's about half an hour long. Um,
Grab
so
yourself a brew.
grab a brew, enjoy, and we'll see you in a bit. Joining us then for a chat today is Warren Budensky, who is a collector of movies, which is a given. I think that's probably why we're all here, but also of autographs, which is, I guess, something that is fairly common. You obviously see the queues of people lining up at things like Comic-Con to get their autographs, but it's maybe not something that's as a community is kind of maybe not so well known, and I think it'd be interesting to get some ideas from you, Warren, on what this involves and how it all started. So why don't you start by just giving a bit of background and kind of what got you onto collecting autographs in the first place?
It's actually quite a weird story where my autograph obsession started with my first job from school.
Mm.
So in year 10 or 11, when you're about 15, we did work experience. So the school get you to go work somewhere for a week, basically. And usually you just sit around and do nothing because like jobs don't really have anything for teenagers to do.
Yeah.
And nothing was taking my fancy, but in the town that we lived in, there was an autograph store. A store that just sold autographs, and they did work experience for school kids.
That's
And
cool.
one of the teachers found that and was like, "You like film? This would be perfect for you." So I applied for that and like did a week there, and then got the job, and it all kind of started like there. And one of the other things was the owner of the place. He supplied guests for the shows, so things like memorabilia, and like I think London Film Comic Con, a couple of those kinds of shows.
Mm.
He actually supplied guests for, so they would do a signing in the store as well. And I think the first person I saw do a signing was, I think, Doug Bradley.
Oh wow, okay.
So definitely tapping into Mark's obsession with Hellraiser here. So this is going well.
I wouldn't call it an obsession, but yes, it's going well. Yeah.
I mean, okay.
Okay, so was he your well? I guess if you were buying autographs in advance, then from these stores and so on, I guess how can you trust that an autograph is genuine if you've not kind of seen it signed yourself?
Yeah. So there's a lot of like con artists obviously out there.
Mm.
You know, eBay's the worst. Well,
Yeah, I got
eBay's
stung
one
on
of the
eBay
worst.
once.
Yeah, a lot of preprints show up there.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, there was. God, I'm not sure if it's still the same now, but there was a couple of governing bodies that sort of regulated autograph dealerships. The one that we had back in the day was UACC, which was like the Authorized Autograph Collectors Club, I think it stood for. And they basically are sort of like governed by go and check stores and things, and they had certain rules like all your autographs had to be attained in person.
Right.
You know, you'd be able to track them down, and they'd usually take sample sizes as well from some of the stores and check them out. And if they ever flagged anything as false, then that was it. Membership was revoked.
Okay.
You know, you couldn't trade under it anymore.
Sort of harking back to your work experience, was it autographs just on pieces of paper, or was it like signed memorabilia and things like that? Because I noticed in our local Costco, they've started selling signed like the shirts, football shirts, but like a signed plaque underneath.
Yeah, so we had football shirts. Football shirts quite common because they usually come from the clubs themselves.
Right.
Yeah, a lot of football stuff because the players are quite heavily regulated on what they can sign and stuff. Some of them are not sponsored. But the clubs tend to say they do like shirts with collections on and the teams on and things. But yeah, for a lot of the film memorabilia, it was generally promotional photographs.
Okay.
So we had the odd posters and things, but usually it was 10 by 8s, sort of signed. So usually the older things tended to be on like little art cards and stuff because the autograph market wasn't sort of really about when it was sort of like the 50s, 60s and things.
No, quite right.
So it'd be people getting it in person, getting it signed on little, little art cards or little pieces of paper, and they're usually the ones that are framed up with a picture, and then it's just the card itself that's signed.
So one question I had was because I've collected some autographs in the past, but it's not really my main thing. So I've been to Comic Con a few times, met Lance Henriksen from Alien and other things. So he signed my Alien anthology Blu-ray, which is pretty cool. So that was done in person. I had a photo of him, blah blah blah. But where I tend to collect autographs is music. So I've got a few signed vinyls, and my question was, how do you feel about sort of pre-ordering that media and then it's signed by the artist or actor ahead of time, not really in person, it then just gets shipped out? How do you feel about that sort of stuff?
Back when I was younger, I was kind of excited by anything being signed by people. But the more that I've sort of collected, the more I'd rather get it in person these days. If that makes sense.
It does, but so I sort of asked because my most recent one, I'm a huge Muse fan, like favorite band of all time, and I've never been able to track anything down signed by Muse, or if you do, it's crazy money. But the most recent album, The Will of the People, they did signed art cards. So it was, for me, it was my first piece of signed Muse merch, which I was just elated over. So it was the first time I would never be able to bump into that band. Do you know what I mean?
I mean, that's really cool. I actually did the same with Clive Barker. So when the Scarlet Gospels was coming out, it seemed like it was very much on death's door, and I pre-ordered that, and it sits nicely on my shelf, all signed up. So it's not, so I say, like, as a general rule of thumb, it's not as exciting, but there's still people, you're never going to get the chance, but at least you can get something that they've like signed.
Yeah.
I think it's still quite exciting for the people that, like you said, Muse bands are impossible. If I could get a couple of the bands, even just pre-ordering it, then that'd be amazing.
So I've got a couple of questions around the kind of community, right? The kind of collectors community. So is there, it's something I've never been particularly into. I've got a couple of signed steelbooks that are signed by the artists who did them, and things like that. But that's kind of it, really. Is there anything along the lines of kind of swaps and trading, like you've got an autograph, someone else really wants it, they've got something you've been trying to get hold of for a while? Is there that kind of thing going on in terms of like either online through forums or at various get-togethers and shows and things?
Yeah, I definitely say there's elements of that happening. I think a lot of people who know each other well, because trust is like a big issue in the this community. So it's usually the people who have made like long-term relationships, or so my world's more from the professionals side of things, and I have seen them do trades for particular stuff, because some people just specialize in getting certain, or they just know where to get certain people, and others struggle and they do trades for each other. But I think it happens. Definitely, I know I've traded with a couple of friends on a few things. So I've managed to get hold of a few pieces that they can't, and they've got some that I haven't.
And is there that kind of thing where if you're going to be at a particular event that somebody else can't make, you can get stuff signed for them and then you kind of send it to them? Does that kind of thing go on as well?
So my personal experience has just been the friends that I've had who have gone to places that I haven't made it to. So like Ken Kazinga was at a show that I couldn't get to, and I gave my friend my Freddy vs. Jason DVD cover to get signed.
Oh, fantastic.
I managed to give posters to my boss to get signed. I got a nice Devil's Rejects one.
Oh, wow.
Cool.
That's cool. Okay.
We had a show with Sid Haig, Bill Moseley, Ken Foray.
Oh, right. Okay.
My boss was good friends with Ken Foray, so he's like, I'll definitely get you Ken's signature, but the others, you're going to have to chance it.
Yeah.
So that's cool, whatever you can get. And he got me everybody but Ken Foray.
Oh, no. So in terms of, because obviously you hear of there might be some auction that goes up where some huge megastar or someone who's long dead, right? Where there's a built-in rarity to anything of their signature. You'll hear like an auction at Sotheby's or somewhere where the people pay hundreds of thousands of pounds for a signed something document or other. But in general terms, for the kind of things that you're collecting and kind of in the community, how, or do you even try, but how do you kind of put a value on some of these? Is it something, for example, is your collection insured, for example? Is there a way to value it in that sense?
There are ways to it. Mine isn't, because I'm terrible with stuff like that.
Right.
And when I got them, I sort of like was in with these people, and so I can always get another one. And
Yeah.
now actually, some of these are probably very much worth insuring.
Yeah.
Sure.
Rarity seems to be the big thing on sort of working out prices. Like everybody sort of goes online. Who was it? What's it? Oh God, I've forgotten their name now. But they used to be the sort of go-to autograph people in London. Like their head offices were in London, and they always had like the top 100 autograph prices listed.
Right.
And it all comes down to basically like rarity and sometimes even this type of signature and the pen that it's signed with.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, it can very much, like if you get like for example at the shop we had a bunch of Christian Bales on Dark Knight.
Right.
And he signed in black and blue pens. So it's a dark image with a dark pen. Can't sell them. No one wants it.
Got it.
Yeah. Even though he's a rare signature. But if it's silver or gold on one of those,
if it stands out and it's nice and clear.
Yeah.
Okay.
But rarity tends to be the big thing. So like Madonna was always expensive because she understood the value of her signature and she wanted to keep it that sort of way. Sean Connery was another one who was always expensive. But he was another one who wouldn't sign many things to people. And he only exclusively signed Bond through his charity, because he had a charity.
Oh, okay.
So him on a Bond was very rare because you could only get it through his charity.
Right.
So this is somewhere that I have. So this is somewhere that I have a little bit of experience, and this comes back to eBay. Big Hugh Jackman fan, and I remember one day scrolling through eBay late at night, going, "I'm gonna see if there's any signed Wolverine merchandise," and happened to come across a photo of him in the Wolverine. It was signed and it was apparently authenticated. Turns out it wasn't, as you can expect from eBay. But it was one of those. I don't know how well you know Hugh Jackman's signature, but I realized he used to sign quite, his full name. But then he started to basically do like an H and a J because at premieres everyone was putting things out in front of him.
Yeah.
So it's interesting that you're saying how rare, same person but two different signatures in two different parts of their career potentially. Pre X-Men Hugh Jackman probably not worth much, but it's his whole name.
Yeah. Same thing with the images. We had the same thing with Orlando Bloom. He used to do a nice big signature, and then when he started blowing up, it changed to just basically an OB.
Yeah. So in the news, I can't remember what it was now, maybe a couple of months ago, you might remember Tom Cruise and his wife Rita Wilson was accosted at like an airport, I think it was, or a hotel.
This is the fact-checking elf. Please stand by for a fact check. Fact check incoming.
Dan is referring to an incident involving Tom Hanks, not Tom Cruise. That's Tom Hanks, not Tom Cruise. Thank you.
And it looked like a bunch of autograph hunters. Now, from what from the 10 minutes or so we've been talking, I've sort of made an assumption that you're not a chap to harangue actors and actresses at doors and just shoving things in their faces. How do you feel when you see that sort of stuff in the media? Does it wind you up as an honest, decent collector, given autograph hunters a bad name kind of thing?
Yeah, like there's definitely ways to go about it. Like I'm quite shy when I like meet famous people, so like going to a con or something is definitely a thing for me. In real life it's like I just freeze. But I do think there's a level of sort of like respect you need to give people. They kind of if they're having dinner, if they're with their family and kids, like
oh yeah, definitely.
Like that, it's kind of like that social contract where where you don't want to be bothered, why do you think these people would be bothered? I know they're like our heroes and we love them and things, and it's very exciting to like see them, but you have to people. I think a lot of people forget they're still people, and it does give like autograph hunters a bad name, and yeah.
I agree, but I think a lot of people do this as a business, and that's
Oh
the
yeah.
issue. You can tell from how you're talking about this that it is a genuine place of love, and you're doing it for yourself.
Yeah.
And Mark and I have talked on the podcast before about people who buy steel books. As soon as they go out of stock, they start flogging them for 20%, 50% of the markup. You're not a collector if you do that. You're a business. And there are people out there, I can't remember the name of him, but he is a British YouTuber who was, I think, trying to buy a signed Messi football thing for you listeners, shirt, and it turned out to be a fake, and it was something like $5,000.
Oh.
It just that just made me feel sick to my stomach. $5,000's a lot of money to a lot of people.
Yeah, and I hate people who do the fakes and things as well, because one, it's like bad for everybody who buys those sort of things, and it sucks because they think it's just something simple like what people don't know won't hurt them, but it's always going to come out and it's going to destroy someone because you think you got something special and it's not. And of course, when I worked in the business, that always hurt us, like when even like simple things like there was a famous story of Victoria Beckham walking into an autograph store and claiming that their stuff was fake, and it actually turned out she was wrong and they could prove it.
God,
but
it's not good, is it?
No, but it destroyed the reputation of the store. And then some people that I worked for a company, and I don't think I can name them, but the boss for that was awful, and he constantly had fakes coming in that we were trying to get rid of. Just chuck them in the bin. It's like, this isn't how the business works. And he was just like, it's just business, just money. He was also very terrible at fobbing off customers who actually paid for stuff as well.
Sure.
Never understand it.
So in your collection, obviously it's worth a lot to you. We're not going to ask to value your collection, don't worry. But do you have any particularly rare or what you consider to be valuable ones in collection? And to finish that question, to add another question, which in your collection is your favorite?
Rare ones I have would I actually managed to get a Sean Connery on Bond.
Wow.
Yeah, I worked at a store that absorbed another store's stock, and we could check them, and I found it was legit. I was like,
first dibs, please. Thank you very much. Yeah,
that's brilliant. Yeah,
and a Spielberg and George Lucas, which I love.
Oh,
okay.
Yeah, it's got the both of them. It's a shot of them. They must be on Raiders or something. But it's not the best image in the world, but it's the pair of them.
Yeah,
that's so cool.
Yeah.
So they're like, and of course they don't sign much. So they're kind of the most valuable ones I have. I think my favorites are either some of the people that I met, so like Doug Bradley, got a lovely Gunnar Hansen, which is very cool. But my favorite is definitely, I think, the Clive Barker. I've got a couple of books signed by him, and one on Lord of Illusions, which I love Lord of Illusions a lot, like more than most people.
Nice.
So getting a signed piece on that was amazing.
And do you have these kind of on display, or are there too many for them all to be up there, or do you just have a selection out there?
We're slowly getting them up. I've got a bunch on the wall in our spare bedroom, so the missus is quite happy for me to put them up. But when I was working at the store, I could get stuff framed up for free because I did the framing, and the boss was happy to let me take a frame every now and then. So they were in a very specific, like, black frame, cream mount setup. And now just slowly trying to buy frames that match.
Yeah.
So it's not all different.
Yeah. And is there anything, because obviously you've said there you've got a couple of fantastic sounding ones that are kind of rare and anyone would kill for. Is there any that you don't have that you would, give an arm and a leg for, or a child in exchange for?
Yeah, there's definitely a few floating. God, what? Oh, what ones? I collect a lot of directors.
Mm.
So one I'd love to try and get hold of is like a Takashi Miike.
Hmm.
Like I can't even like begin to start to work out how to hunt down Japanese autographs at
Yeah.
the moment. Um, um, yeah, so that's one, and I'd love to get some of my old heroes, like a Schwarzenegger, would be amazing to get hold of because he's another person who doesn't sign very often. And now he
Yeah.
started doing digital signatures, which
Oh,
is weird.
like
Like,
NFTs or
no, like oh he got sent a pipe or something, and he sent a letter back being like, "This is amazing," because someone like handcrafted it, and he signed it using his like iPad or whatever it was. So he
I
digitally written the
see.
letter and digitally like signed it. So it's like, oh, it is technically his signature, but it's just a print when you get it out the other end. Like, I don't know how that's going to work in the future. It'll be
Mm.
interesting to see.
I can
But
see how people might go down the NFT route, though. Just well,
I'm curious how
maybe
that
not
will work.
maybe not
Yeah,
specifically NFTs, but some kind of blockchain. Because as things go digital,
yeah,
you
that's
are going to need some way of authenticating them, aren't they? Aren't you?
Mm.
To make sure that they're genuine. If it's not a physical thing, there needs to be some kind of authentication.
yeah.
So when stuff is kind of shown to be fake,
Mm.
I mean, what's the comeback on that? Do you have any comeback, or do you just bin it and put it down to experience, and hopefully you won't get caught out next time? What's
Yeah.
I suppose it
Like
depends where you get them from, whether they're
yeah.
sort of
So like if anything back in the day was UACC, that came
Hmm,
with a lifetime guarantee.
right.
So if you got it authenticated independently and it flagged up false, you could get the money back.
Hmm,
But I think most places that you end up going, a lot of stores don't have, you know, money back guarantees, or they give you only like 10 days or something. Like that's a red flag to begin with.
yeah,
But yeah, if you're buying privately and things, I don't think there's much recourse. I think yeah, it just ends up with experience. I had that on eBay a couple of times where I bought presents back in the day, and it's like, oh, it's a preprint. You look at the fine print, and you're like, yeah, nothing you can do about it.
Yeah,
hmm,
it's like selling a photo of the graphics card that was going around
Yeah,
a couple of years, last year with the new Nvidia 3000s. But yeah, that's exactly what happened to me on eBay. The other authentication I've got in my head is who Showmasters uses. Beckett's, I think it is.
oh, yeah,
It's come
it's
to me at the top of my head. That might be completely wrong, but I'm
yeah,
convinced it's Beckett's authentication.
yeah that might be right. So there's a few companies. Aftel was another one that was a good one, I think. Yeah. But
Because
yeah.
I happened to pre-order a Christopher Lloyd signature
Oh,
from Showmasters in London about 4 years ago. And I've now noticed that his price has doubled. So I'm glad I did it when I did.
mm,
But yeah, I think from personally, I've got nowhere to put these posters and these autographs. So I love having signed stuff, but it's just where to put it,
yeah,
categorize it. I struggle with my steelbooks and Blu-rays and stuff, but
yeah.
that's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's sort of why I started getting into my DVD covers. Because my missus is always trying to get rid of my DVDs, and if I get them signed, we can keep them. And I
Fair
don't need
enough.
them.
That's a good trade.
that is very smart thinking. Very
Make
smart
them
thinking.
more valuable, and I get
Yeah,
to keep them.
yeah,
Brilliant.
yeah. I just need hundreds of autographs now,
Yeah,
and I'll be fine.
sorted.
Yeah, that's fantastic. That's fantastic. So, um, in terms of your collecting, then, are you fairly choosy around what kind of things you go for, or are you always on the lookout for new stuff?
uh, I've become more choosy now. When I
Mm,
was younger and had way more access, I was way more into just getting anyone that I just liked. So, I got like, I got Michael Madsen because I love Kill Bill. Like
mm.
I hadn't seen him in much else, but it turned out I actually do like Michael Madsen, so that lucked out.
I like that.
Yeah, it's like Reservoir Dogs is amazing. Blood Rain, well, the less said, the better. Yeah, way more choose. Like now, it's just people who really inspire me and things, or like people I've loved, or if I get the chance to meet someone So like I loved Michael Bean, and
Mm.
he showed up at one of the Comic Cons back when his movie The Victim came out.
Yep.
And so I had to go and get that signed, and then get Lena Headey on Dread, that
Oh,
signed.
right. Oh, cool. Okay. Do you? No, I did have a question, and it's gone.
It's an age thing. See,
Sorry.
I'll save it, Mark. Don't
Go
worry. I haven't got one either. No, I'm kidding. It's more of a conversation point. I'm surprised that we haven't seen the likes of Xavi jump on this kind of bandwagon of. Mark and I were talking on the last episode about the special edition versions of the new MCU movies.
Oh,
And
yeah.
as I put it, it comes with extra shit. I'm surprised they haven't jumped on the bandwagon of including, pre-printed signatures in some of their MCU stuff. But I guess the actor would have to have some sort of not payoff. Payoff's the wrong word. But if their signature is being included in the packaging, you'd expect them to have a bit of a kickback.
Yeah, I imagine that there'd probably be something to do with marketing or something that has to go through that on an official thing like that. So when you sell them as autographs, there's a different grey area, because obviously they don't usually get kickback in actual stores, other than if it was done at a show or something, then they've been paid.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think you're right there. I know HMV for a while did their points thing where you could earn enough.
I remember
points to get
HMV Pure. Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, you could save up points and get autographed merch and things, couldn't you? Yeah.
Yeah. The only issue with it was when we did the math and the points, and it's like, this is about 10 times more than actually tracking it down and buying it.
I remember a pack of Watchmen pin badge buttons, and I've still got them somewhere, turned out to be something like £50. You'd spent £50 in store, and back then you spent a lot of money in HMV. Now a lot less. But anyway, less said about that the better.
Yeah, I remember when Xavi was Virgin. Do you remember that?
Yep.
They used to do a couple of in-store signings. I met the band Ash through that.
God, that's a blast from the past.
Ash and I think Little Mix.
Oh wow!
Mark's a big fan.
all the top all the top names there.
Yeah.
I know HMV have started doing that again now, but then again, HMV is probably the only high street retailer now for music, isn't it? Music specifically.
That's true. Yeah.
Because I met Enter Shikari at HMV in my town.
Cool. I missed Slipknot at a signing somewhere.
Oh, I love Slipknot.
Yeah. My friends went. One of them managed to get it signed by 10 people.
It was the 10th in the 9 members of Slipknot.
I think it was Sid signed it twice.
I can see that.
And then it got to Corey and he's like, hang on a second, what's this? And then they all took the piss.
So we hired a new guy. Oh, that's pretty cool. I'm a big Slipknot fan.
Of one of the other ones I'd kill for was Hideo Kojima went to a HMV. I was like, that's another signature. That and Slipknot. There's the 2 more that's I contemplate selling a child
pretty
for.
Awesome. That's pretty cool, Warren.
That's been fantastic, Warren.
I've learned a lot, to be quite honest.
Absolutely.
And it's been nice talking to somebody who has a passion for this that isn't one of these people you see on YouTube ruining the day of others. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. No, it's been great. There's a lot of stuff we've covered there, and as Dan said, I've learned a lot because I'm kind of unfamiliar with the whole kind of how do you make sure it's authentic and all that kind of thing. So just briefly before we finish, one of the other things that you do, let's say, is you work in independent film, right? You're a producer and director of a couple of films that have made it to big streaming services, Amazon and Netflix. So what I'd like to do is kind of get you back for another chat sometime soon, and maybe we can just go over some of that, because I'd be really interested in kind of finding out how, as an indie filmmaker, you can kind of go about getting the funding and distribution, and how indeed you get onto those streaming services and things like that. So if that's something you're free to do sometime, I think that'd be a really fascinating conversation to have.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely.
Fantastic. I think just to close off, I think Dan has one other question that he's been dying to ask. So
Yeah,
I'll hand back to Dan.
Thanks, Mark. So this might be the hardest question that you've probably been asked in your life, and to be honest, Warren. So I do apologise if this puts you on the spot.
Okay.
But if you were a flavour of crisps, what flavour would you be?
Ooh. That is a hard question.
I told you. I did preface it with this is a tricky one.
Yeah. It seems easy on the surface, and it's like,
Right?
actually-
Exactly.
See, Mark forgot to ask the gent at Plumeria Pictures this, and I was livid.
He was. He was.
Oh dear. I reckon maybe smoky bacon.
That's a good choice.
I mean, a cracking choice.
That is a good choice.
Fair enough. Well, Warren, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for taking the time to come talk to us today. We really appreciate it.
Thank you for inviting me. Anytime.
Thanks, Warren. Right then, that was Warren. So, as
Thank
I
you,
mentioned,
Warren.
yes, thank you indeed. Now, as I mentioned in there, Warren's also an indie filmmaker, so he's going to come back in a future episode and talk about some of the stuff he does there in terms of indie film production and the practicalities and the what's, the whys, the who's, and the wherefores of that.
And I look forward to that.
industry. Yeah, absolutely. I think that's going to be a really good one.
Okay.
So
let's move back to Disney, because we haven't heard enough about them over the last 100 years. Disney ran, I think it's annual, their annual Expo over the weekend just gone as we're recording.
Yep.
Called D23. I think it was held in Anaheim this year.
I think that's where they have it all the time. I think
Okay,
that's
cool.
where
So,
their
the birthplace of Disneyland, the theme park, and I'm very excited to talk about some of that stuff later.
Yep.
I've been
Do we know
allowed.
why it's called D23?
I don't, off the top of my head. I just thought it was the 23rd one.
No, it's always been called D23.
I didn't know that. Do you know?
I think it is because it is the year that Walt Disney founded the company.
That would make sense, because it's the 100th
1923.
anniversary next year.
Yeah. So, yes. Anyway, so do continue.
So yeah, big expo, lots of showcasing of new films, theme park stuff, as I said, and lots of special guests come basically and have a chat on stage at panels, a bit like Comic-Con or Star Wars Celebration, but purely Disney-based IPs and things. So what did we have? Well, we had various panels across the weekend. I think it's 2 or 3 days, and first off, let's round up some new live-action stuff. So. It was no surprise or secret, but Hocus Pocus 2 has a release date now.
I think there was a teaser for that, wasn't there, a couple of months ago? Yeah. The eagerly awaited Hocus Pocus 2.
I mean, that's like a 20-year-old film, 25-year-old film, isn't it? So.
Yeah. I mean, it's a popular one.
Yeah, I'll watch it, but whatever.
Yeah.
What else do we have? Right, this one I feel completely unnecessary.
Yeah.
Mufasa. Lion King.
Yeah.
Follow Mufasa's rise to fame, kingdom reign, whatever.
Yeah.
We don't need it.
No, it's the same director who did the quote-unquote live-action Lion King.
Anyway.
Yeah, I don't know. It's like we were saying, isn't it? It's like, just do something. With Lion King, right, there was the original. There were then 2 or 3 animated sequels. Then there's been the remake. I don't know that we need any more Lion King.
We don't. That's the answer. We don't.
Yeah. So
moving on.
Anyway, yeah, go on.
The next line of the Disney Princess remake, live-action remakes, is The Little Mermaid, and we had the first teaser glimpse of that. And I mean, like anything at the moment with Disney, it's had some fantastic response and it's had some terrible response from scummy humans, but we're not going to go into that.
Yep. Yeah. Again, people complaining about the stupidest fucking thing. Sorry, but they are. It's like you're complaining about the skin color of a mermaid,
A fictional
right?
being.
What color their skin is the last of your worries if those things are real. Do you know what I mean? It's the same as it's the same with the freaking hobbits and Lord of the Rings. It's like it's it's not
It's fictional. They don't
it's,
exist.
it's fictional. They could be bright pink for all I care. That aside, again, I'm not that massively bothered. It's yeah, a live action heavy CG remake of an existing film. Fair play. I'm sure it'll be popular.
Now,
Yeah.
my favourite thing that they re-announced, I suppose, but sort of reminds everybody that it was happening, is a Haunted Mansion film.
Mm.
Now, I think it was 2003. We had an Eddie Murphy starring one.
Oh, there wasn't there? Yeah,
I think it was
okay.
2003. I know it was early
Yeah.
2000s. But
Yeah.
this time, I don't think it's a remake. But I think this one's going to go down the lore of the Haunted Mansion a bit more.
Okay.
And as a big fan of the ride, it's going to be great for somebody like me who's a big fan of that IP.
Uh-huh.
But the thing they confirmed, and she arrived on stage in a Doom buggy, which is the ride vehicle that takes you around the rides, was Jamie Lee Curtis. I didn't know she was in this at all.
No, okay.
But she's playing a very, very famous character from the ride, so I've got faith in this film.
There's a certain stamp of approval that you would hope for when you get someone like Jamie Lee Curtis.
I
isn't there?
agree.
So-
We were talking about that last night, me and my other half, about we've just started watching Severance.
Okay,
and
right.
on Apple TV Plus, and Christopher Walken's in it. And I said we were talking, saying, "Oh, I think this is going to be okay if he's put his name to it."
Yeah.
And took the job. So
Yeah.
Jamie Lee Curtis is in it. Looking forward to seeing that. I think it's a next year jobby.
Okay. Well, I'll be interested. Let's see until they release a trailer for the public, and let's go from there.
Right, let's blitz through the Marvel stuff because there's loads.
There's a lot of Marvel.
Okay, you take one, I take one. Right, it's the news at 10. Bong,
Okay.
bong, 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 bong.
Matt Shackman has been confirmed as the director for Fantastic Four. So we were talking about that in the last episode around.
It's not really how headlines work, but that's okay.
Anyway, that's fine. And we were talking about that in the last episode around the fact that he had left the Star Trek sequel, and the rumor stroke expectation was that was because he was moving to Fantastic Four.
And it was
That's
correct.
and that was correct. That's been confirmed. What hasn't been confirmed yet, despite many rumors around to the contrary, was that the cast would be announced. But Kevin Feige basically said there is no more news on that yet. So all these YouTube and Twitter and Reddit scoopers who were
I got sucked into this, to be fair. My bad.
proudly confirming what would be announced, all were thankfully gleefully made to look like absolute fucking idiots and promptly shut the fuck up. A couple even deleted their Twitter accounts in shame.
Oh gosh,
which is the least they could do.
It's a shame yours is still going. Anyway, the next bit, the attendees were treated to footage/trailers from Ant-Man 3, Black Panther 2, Ironheart, Echo, Loki Season 2, and The Marvels.
All of those descriptions that came out sounded fantastic, and
I mean, we've seen the wider network of humanity haven't seen anything. Marvel have kept it under wraps,
other than a Black Panther 2 trailer.
But that's already wasn't that already out?
Yeah,
Well,
but
there
we've
we are
not
then.
seen anything else.
No.
We've not had a second trailer, and we've seen nothing of the others.
No.
Now, I would hope that means we're going to get at least an Ant-Man 3 trailer soon, and a trailer for the Marvels soon. Because if they've got enough footage to show at D23, You know,
Well, I think
let's have it.
I've been to a Disney Star Wars convention. I went to Star Wars Celebration about 6 years ago,
Okay.
and some panels got to see like the first 2 episodes of the new Star Wars Rebels, I think it was.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas in other panels, they did literally a 30-second snippet of the next film. I think it was Rogue
Right.
One at the time.
Oh,
And-
right. Okay.
30 seconds, it's not much, but it sent the roof off kind of thing. So we say, they've had a trailer, they've had footage. They could have literally had a snippet,
And some of it was, to be fair, I think some of it was, but there was certainly from the descriptions, some of it does sound very exciting.
I'm excited. You're excited. We're all bloody excited.
I'm excited. Now there's been a little bit more news out around Captain America: New World Order.
So yeah, this is Captain America 4.
4. Yeah.
And it's Sam Wilson's
Yep.
official outing as official first outing, official
no,
debut
No, it
in a
was Captain
film.
America.
Let me bloody finish then. I'm doing this properly.
Go on.
It's his debut outing in a feature film as Captain America. Mark, you may continue.
Correct.
Now that was
This
painful.
this has been described by the director as a paranoid thriller, so that sounds interesting.
Doesn't it?
It does have the return of Isaiah Bradley,
Yeah,
which
boy.
I think when we were talking before about about Falcon and Winter Soldier, I said, I thought that the storyline was too baggy, and I would have preferred it to focus on Isaiah Bradley and those additional super soldiers
Agreed.
that didn't get the publicity that Captain America got. They were basically experimented on. So it looks, the fact that he's back, hopefully they're going to at least go into that story a little bit more. We also get this one surprised me in that we're getting Tim Blake Nelson is coming back as Samuel Stearns, who was a character who appeared way back in The Incredible Hulk,
Which is now been confirmed as part of the MCU. Basically.
It always has been, because like Tony Stark appeared in it as well.
That's true.
But it was one of the very first MCU films. I think it was like maybe the third MCU film.
Was it not? Wasn't Iron Man the first Marvel Studios produced film?
Yeah. And then
This one wasn't.
No, this was Marvel Studios produced but released by Universal.
That's it. So that's why Iron Man started it all. But no, this is the first one.
So this came out around the same time as Iron Man 2 in the chronology. It's around that era, so it's like the third or fourth film. And yeah, this character Samuel Stearns, aka the leader, is injured towards the end of the film, and he is infected, or he's got a cut, and some of Bruce Banner's blood gets into it and starts to mutate him.
Where have we seen that before recently?
Yeah, indeed. So he then becomes this character, the leader. So he's coming back, which is interesting. Let's see how a character from the Hulk world kind of thing is going to affect what's going on with Captain America. But that's all they said. Yep. Obviously, it's not started filming yet, but at least we've got a couple of characters confirmed.
Moving on to Marvel's answer to the Suicide Squad.
Yeah,
Thunderbolts has been confirmed, and the casting has basically been confirmed, and who is part of the Thunderbolts. So we've got Julia Louis. Julia Louis-Dreyfus is back as Valentina. We kind of knew that was happening.
Is back as who, sorry?
Valentina.
Valentina who?
Allegra de Fontaine.
Thank you.
Why does it matter? We know
she's quite fussy about it.
She's Val. Anyway, Red Guardian's back, so David Harbour.
Brilliant.
This one, yeah, I loved him. He carried that film. His back must be hurting.
From that film being
Black Widow.
Black Widow.
Yep. I mean, this one surprised me. Ghost, the character of Ghost, is back from Ant-Man 2.
Yeah.
That surprised me.
It did me, but I'm glad, because I think one of the things well, they're clearly fixing this with this film. But one of the things that Marvel has always had a problem with, let's say, is using a villain in a film and then ditching it, and you never see them
They,
again.
they get defeated and then, oh, look, they never existed again.
Exactly. So the fact we get, I know Red Guardian isn't a bad guy particularly, but the fact we're getting Ghost back and we'll move on to some of the other characters, that's great because at last we're trying to, obviously they're playing the long game, but we're kind of seeing some of these older characters, the bad guy characters, finally coming back and being given something else to do kind of thing. So that's great. So Ghost, fantastic character, great concept. That'll be interesting to see how she fits in. And then we've also got, who's next?
Taskmaster from Black Widow again.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed. Thought it was a great character.
Yeah.
Didn't realise who would be under the mask.
No. And I think in the comics, Taskmaster's a male.
I think so.
But that's cool. Interesting to see. I believe it's Olga Kurilenko still coming back. She played the character in the film in Black Widow. So that's good. Again, reusing those villains. Got Wyatt Russell as
no
John
surprise
Walker.
that he's going to be in it.
Yeah, brilliant.
I liked him.
I thought it was great in Falcon and Winter Soldier. So he's now confirmed as the US agent, having failed to take over as the new Captain America. Obviously, he's got bearing a bit of a grudge there, no doubt. But that's great to see him back. Florence Pugh,
who's everywhere at the moment.
Oh, be still my beating heart. Florence Pugh is back as I love Florence
Old
Pugh.
enough to be a dad.
What can I? Nothing wrong with that. What can I say? I love Florence Pugh. I think she's great in everything. Right? She's fantastic in Black Widow and in Hawkeye. I think she's got just the right tone in terms of like the humor and so on. So great to see her back. And last but not least, who have we got?
Bucky.
I
thought he's had his massive redemption arc. Why would he possibly be a bad guy again?
Well, do you know, that's interesting. Yeah, I was thinking the same. I thought it was kind of definitely back on the good guy team. So either he's in the film but not as an actual member of the Thunderbolts, or part of the storyline may involve him turning, let's say. Or it might be that the Thunderbolts aren't necessarily, quote unquote, all bad guys. Because the way that, like Valentina Allegra de Fontaine, because let's give her a full name, is kind of going around recruiting people. Perhaps they're just more a kind of freelance mercenaries than actual bad guys. But we'll see, right? That
we'll have to wait and see.
All will be unveiled. We did get a couple of trailers though.
I'm up to date on both of these, so.
So first was Secret Invasion. What do you reckon to that?
Looks fab.
It does, doesn't it?
I mean, Sam Jackson's back in it, obviously.
Yeah.
But we've got the return of our favourite Skrull. I forgot his name. Ben Mendelsohn.
Yep. Olivia Colman.
Oh God, yeah, I forgot about her. It just looks fun.
It does. That was filmed around where I live, actually. Some of the scenes there were filmed in Leeds city centre, and also in Halifax, a few miles down the road.
They've done our mortgage. Anyway,
there you go. So, yes, there's a long scene in a bank.
I nearly went along with that.
Yep. And then
this one took us by surprise.
Oh, Werewolf by Night, which is basically a Disney Plus Halloween
special event.
Yeah. It's using a Werewolf by Night character, which I'm really not familiar with, but it's from the comics, and it's done as a kind of pastiche of the 1930s, 1940s horror movies.
It to me it looked straight. I mean, the trailer's in black and white.
Yeah.
It looks straight out of like the Wolfman, and I thought this is a
Yep.
Universal monster
That's it.
film.
Yeah, complete with grainy jumping frames. Just it looks
So
fantastic.
to
It
be,
really does.
so it's coming out as a one-off, and
Yeah.
to put into context, Werewolf by Night is where Moon Knight first appears.
Oh, okay, right.
Did
okay.
you not know that? Out of curiosity.
No, I didn't know. Didn't know
So
that.
I wondered if we're going to get a certain cameo.
Possibly, I suppose. Yeah, we could do.
But it looks great.
It does. It's directed by Michael Giacchino, who is a composer.
I was about to say he does the music for Marvel.
Yeah, he's done quite a few of the Marvel films. He's done, I think, he might have done a couple of Pixar's. He did the music for the Lost TV series. And I think this is the first thing he's directed. So
This could be.
yeah,
This could really launch him into the MCU as a director. I feel.
hopefully,
That'd be cool.
I like what they seem to be doing here, because although it's in black and white, and obviously there's an element of humour to it, it's
a horror film.
It's a horror film, exactly. And I like the idea that they can do that. Marvel can do the kind of family-friendly cinema releases, PG-13/12 ratings, and like the mainstream stuff, but use Disney Plus to explore some of the other characters, maybe the harder edged characters like this, or just play around with the format. Just, it might not be a character that's worth doing as an ongoing series, and we might never see the character again in any films, but here's like a fun hour long or however long it is thing where they're just having a bit of fun and playing around. So hopefully, if this works, we'll see more similar kind of things with some of those more obscure characters.
Yeah. Okay, that's Marvel.
That was Marvel. Then it was the turn of Lucasfilm.
Go on.
Indiana Jones
Dun,
5.
dun, 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 dun.
I don't know why it's
might
5,
get a,
because we've only had 3 films so far. So,
well, let's leave that there. But Indiana Jones's newest outing.
yeah, so there was a teaser trailer shown, which apparently, again, was met with rapturous applause.
Action-packed is what I've heard.
So hopefully we'll soon get that. Still no title confirmed.
I saw, again, it was one of these stupid rumours, that it was confirmed as simply Indiana Jones. But that's probably because the title hasn't been confirmed.
It might well be.
But I think that would annoy me, being the 5th in the series. It's every single one has been Indiana Jones and
apart from the first one.
Well,
First one is just Raiders of the
Lost Ark.
That's my little fact-checking elf.
Smart ass.
But yeah, it's an interesting one. They didn't. I don't think they said one way or the other when the title would be confirmed or what. But you're right; it did just say Indiana Jones, didn't it, on the pictures that we saw?
I can't wait. I'm so excited for that film.
I am really looking forward to it. Phoebe Waller-Bridge, can't wait for that. I think
Ting
she's
Tang Walla Walla Bing
playing
Bang.
his. Say again, sorry.
Phoebe Ting Tang Walla Walla Bing Bang. I've worked on that for a week.
I can tell. She plays Indy's goddaughter.
Interesting. I didn't know the relation.
Yeah, that was confirmed by the producer at the weekend. And they've also confirmed that John Rhys-Davies is back as Salah.
Brilliant.
So
brilliant.
Yeah, cannot wait.
I've met him.
Cannot wait for that. Have you?
Yeah, he's a nice bloke. He was in a Comic-Con years ago locally, and queued up to meet him, signed my in-laws' Lord of the Rings collection.
Oh, right.
Couldn't be happier to talk about things. It was really, we were talking about what it was like filming in New Zealand and etc., and he was just a really nice bloke. Didn't mind having time to chat, and I appreciated that.
Yeah.
Nice guy.
That's
guy.
That's good. So that was that, and hopefully, yes, we'll see something soon on that.
Just blitz through Star Wars. We're done with Star Wars. I'm sick of it.
Yeah, load of Star Wars. We had a Mandalorian season 3 teaser, which looks good. More Mandalorian is always
welcome.
Always welcome. We had again apparently some more bits of Andor. There was another final trailer released as well.
Another final trailer. Final trailer.
Another trailer. A final trailer. There's some teasing for the Bad Batch season 2.
Yeah, I started watching the first series, and I'm not a fan of Rebels and things like that. So I just gave up.
I've never really followed those.
Nah.
There was Tales of the Jedi, which is a series of short animated films talk about history of some of the characters.
That could be interesting.
Yeah, that sounds interesting.
I hope they do one about the origins of Anakin and Darth Vader. That'd be great.
We need to know that, don't we? Yeah, absolutely. Then there was apparently a tease for another live action show called Skeleton Crew, which stars Jude Law. I remember it when it was first announced, but I'd completely forgotten that it was happening. But
I remember
again,
it being announced. Yeah, you're right.
yeah, but yeah, Jude Law was there. Apparently, they showed a little bit of footage, so that it'd be interesting to see how that one turns out. And then, of course, the Ahsoka show, which we've known has been happening for a while, is currently in production, and I think they just had a few images. I don't think there was any footage shown. So there's plenty going on with Star Wars. No mention, interestingly, of a Boba Fett season 2.
I'll live.
I can live without that. I just think bringing back for Mandalorian, just keep them together in that if they're going to have him back at all. Then there's a trailer for Willow,
which I haven't seen yet.
I've never even seen the film.
I've seen bits of the film, and it's going to be one in our house which will be watched. I know that for a fact. Yeah.
I've never seen the film, so I've honestly got no
basis,
no opinion on what on the TV show. But yeah, all right.
Yeah, I like Warwick Davis at the end of the day.
Yeah, it's obviously a popular film, favourite of many people. So yeah, give it a go. I'll watch the film. Okay, so
now it's my time to shine.
Now this is it. I know you've been waiting for this. Here we go. This is your specialised area.
Heavy breathing intensifies.
Come on then.
So, Disney Parks also had a panel. And I was refreshing Twitter as it went along. And basically, they're going to announce the changes that are going to happen across their theme parks in the next, 5-10 years. Unfortunately, they left out all of the eastern areas of the world. And they forgot about Paris.
Was there nothing about... Oh, okay.
So they announced lots about Disney California and Disney World in Florida and Orlando.
Yeah.
So I've broken it down sort of there. So start with Disney California.
Mm-hmm.
So there's 2 parks in Disney California. There's Disneyland and Disneyland's Californian Adventure. In Disney Cali Adventure, there is Avengers Campus.
Right.
So they have a Guardians of the Galaxy ride. They have a Spider-Man ride. And there was a rumoured third ride to be there when it opened. I think it opened last year, if I remember correctly. But budget cuts, and you know how anything works. The big expensive thing usually gets the chop.
Yeah.
They're bringing in a new ride that is going to enter the multiverse. But this multiverse is going to be themed and revolving around if Thanos won. So we're going to get the first view of King Thanos. And again, if you look at the comics, you'll see what he looks like. But it's basically if Thanos won with the snap and everything, this is the world that we would have been living in. So that's going to be interesting. It's probably going to be full of screens and lots of projections versus animatronics. But again, we won't go into theme parks unless we talk about it in an episode one day. But that's going to be really cool. First time the multiverse has made it into parks.
Okay.
Also in Disney California, they are having a Big Hero 6 themed area, which is a re-theme of a current place. So San Francisco, I think, is in Disney Hero 6. So that's going to be built, which is cool.
Yeah.
And then one that's drawing a, division on the internet is Disney have a ride called Splash Mountain, and it's a log flume. It exists in both Disney California and Walt Disney World in Florida. It's been a family favourite for years, like decades. Right. They've recently announced that it's being rethemed to Tiana, who's the princess and the frog princess.
Okay.
And it's going to be called Tiana's Bayou Adventure. Fair enough. I don't really have a problem with it. Because Splash Mountain is themed to a film which you can't buy anywhere because it's now deemed racist. It's Songs of the South.
Oh, yes. Okay.
So, infamous Disney release. And there is no references in the ride to said film other than Zippity Doodah and Brer Rabbit.
Okay.
If you never knew about Songs of the South, you would ride Splash Mountain having no clue that it was connected to said film. So the fact that they're going to retheme it to a film, I don't really mind. It's still going to be the same fun Splash Mountain.
Okay.
But they released concept art about it, and people were like, "What the hell?" Because it's a fan favorite. But then the new art that they've released again is even worse because they've, again, budget cuts. They've stripped back some of the theming. So you can tell, real Disney fans, real hardcore Disney fans are going to be a bit upset by it. But they've announced that it's opening in 2024. So it's a retheme of an existing ride, basically.
Okay.
Which is cool. I'm not bothered.
Yeah,
I'm not bothered.
Yeah. I suppose as long as the functionally the ride itself is the same, I guess, does it matter that much?
Coming back to Disney's the Avengers campuses, in California, they did Guardians of the Galaxy Mission Breakout.
Yeah.
That rethemed Disney Tower of Terror.
Okay.
Which is my all-time favourite Disney attraction, bar the Haunted Mansion.
Right, okay.
So, I've been on the one in Florida and Paris. If they retheme the Florida one, because the Florida one is unique, it's not a rebuild of, well, it's the first, but it's also not a rebuild of Paris and California. It's a completely different ride system.
Okay.
If they retheme that, I'd be gutted. Really gutted. Because I like Guardians of the Galaxy, but also Disney, the Tower of Terror it's unique. It was based on the Twilight Zone TV show, and it's not really connected to anything else, so it would upset me, put it that way.
Okay.
It's an out and out thrill ride, which you don't get in Disney very often. It would stay a thrill ride, but it's a haunted house thrill ride. I like that.
Yeah.
But anyway, let's move on. So we're going to move to Florida now, to Disney World. They basically announced that the Epcot, the next phase, is going to be completed in 2023. Epcot has been the same since the 80s, and they're gradually rebuilding parts of it. And it's going on forever. And they've just said the next phase is going to open in 23. Yeah, that didn't bother me. The one that did bother me, not bother, but interested me, is they've built a Tron roller coaster in the Magic Kingdom.
Right.
They've now announced that it's going to open in 2023, but check this. They announced it was going to be built in 2017.
Is this their version of the one that's been open in China?
Basically, it's Shanghai, I think it is.
Yeah.
Which is China, so you're just making Disney Shanghai. I don't know any theme park operator in the world that takes as long to build and open rides as Disney. Because the ride is done, it's rideable. The CEO of Disney Parks rode it, so it's safe to ride, but clearly none of the theming is done.
Okay.
And I remember
They
built hang on. Snow White, Seven Dwarfs Mine Train in Disney again, in Magic Kingdom, and that took yonks to open. It's baffling, but they do get it right. So, yeah. Merlin open rides in the UK and they're half finished. But whatever, right?
Okay.
They then announced that Frozen is going to take over the parks worldwide. There's going to be Arendelle areas, and I think there's definitely one being confirmed for Disneyland Paris.
Okay.
There's already a bit of one in Epcot in Florida because there's a retheme of an existing ride there. So that's cool.
Okay.
The one that upset me the most, in Animal Kingdom, there's an area called Dino Land, which has one of the roughest rides I've ever been on, called Dinosaur.
Yeah.
And it's a simulator ride, but you go back in time and rescue dinosaurs. It's pretty cool. They basically had a brainstorming session on stage that said, yeah, we're looking at getting rid of it, but we don't know what to yet.
Okay.
But they mentioned Zootopia, and I hate that film. Or Zootropolis,
Really?
if you're American. I think I've just seen it too much. I don't like it.
Oh, wow, okay.
But the fact that, if they rethemed Dinosaur, I could live, but I think it's going to get the scrap and be completely flattened, and that'll upset me, because, again, it's unique. But Zootopia, no thank you. And the other one was mentioned was potentially Moana. That would be okay, it's different.
Yeah.
But there's already a Moana area, going to be a Moana area in Epcot, so, in the same theme park complex.
Right.
And they basically announced there's going to be new shows across the parks, but it was actually quite disappointing. There wasn't as much. Most of what they've announced had already been announced. It was an update more than anything.
I see. So, I see there's nothing there. They're not doing anything new for Star Wars, right? So they've got Galaxy's
Interesting
Edge.
you should mention that.
Is Galaxy's Edge in both American parks?
Yes, so there is one in Hollywood Studios in Florida.
Yeah.
And I think it's Disneyland in California. There was meant to be one coming to Europe in Disneyland Paris. However, that has mysteriously disappeared from all of the concept art that has come out recently.
That's the one I was thinking.
Yeah.
Because there's two in America, one on each side. I would have thought that would be like one of the next things that they would bring to the other parks as well.
You'd think so, especially in Europe.
Yeah.
But I think they've announced there's going to be a Cars Land, Frozen Land, and something to do with the Lion King in Disneyland Paris Studios Park.
Okay.
Which I am disappointed with because, I'm going to go back to America Disney, of course I am, but if I could have just hopped across the channel and gone to Paris to do it, I'd have done that. So I'm a bit disappointed.
Yeah.
Especially the whole European market in Star Wars. I don't know why they haven't jumped on it, but there we are. Gutted. But yes, you're right. They have scrapped that off.
That's weird because I don't know. I just would have thought. Yeah.
You'd have thought they'd have capitalised on it.
Yeah, and they're doing more Marvel stuff, right?
Because Disneyland Paris Studios Park already has Avengers Campus. That's going to be an expansion point over the years.
That's the one I was thinking of. So they're doing the Marvel stuff. So it just surprises me that there's no.
There's no more Star Wars in Europe.
Yeah,
I'm with you on that.
Yeah.
But for me, it was a bit of a disappointing panel. There was, they announced that there's a new show coming to the Magic Kingdom, or a new song that's returning, and people lost their minds. And to me, it's like, yeah, it's great. People have memories of it, brilliant, but it's just a show, Bands tour. You might have the best night of your life at a certain band, but they're never going to play that show again exactly the same. So get on with life, kind of thing.
Yeah.
But some Disney adults take this so seriously. It's scary. Obsessions. I'm a big Disney fan. Don't get me wrong. I love my theme parks, but if they ever retheme Tower of Terror, I'd be upset. But I'd move on. Life moves on. I think boring way to end the podcast.
No. I think it's one of those things because I don't get me wrong. I've been to theme parks. I enjoy the rides and all that kind of thing. But I'm not like I won't kind of.
You won't
search out the latest and greatest. Yeah, and I don't kind of follow what's going on necessarily. But going by what you've said on what they've announced, like you say, like the Tron ride is ready next year. What's that? 6 years after it was announced, and
it's a carbon copy, as far as I'm aware, from the one in Shanghai. So it's not like it had to be designed.
And that one's been going for 2 or 3 years easily, hasn't it?
Well,
so,
I suppose we got to say the pandemic should probably shut down some construction.
Fair enough, yeah.
But
fair
Disney
enough.
and Universal operate 24-hour construction.
Yeah, well, yeah. It does seem a little lackluster as someone who's not massively into it. I can see where it's like, oh, is that it?
Although, I will close this on a positive.
Go on,
you finish your point.
I think I'm just more surprised that they're not doing the Star Wars thing.
Yeah, definitely.
Else.
However, they did announce a think tank idea that in Magic Kingdom in Florida, there's an area behind Thunder Mountain which has been undeveloped, and they've teased something called the Villains Kingdom, which was going to be rumoured to be the next big park in Walt Disney World in Florida.
Right.
Now, Universal Studios, who is Disney's biggest competitor in Florida, are building a brand new theme park called Epic Universe, and that's due to open, I think, 2025.
Oh.
Disney are going to have to do something to compete with that. They're going to have to, because Universal will have 3 parks. Granted, Disney's a different ball game to Universal Studios, but that's a whole episode on its own. I think they're going to see how that park is received and go from there. But that's years away. But they've teased this massive expansion of Magic Kingdom and basically gone, yeah, nothing really to show you other than we've had an idea. Cheers. Thanks for coming to our talk.
That's a shame. Yeah.
But we'll see. We'll see. It's always interesting seeing what's happening in the Disney world.
This is true. And I guess overall, in terms of, well, overall from D23 as a whole, what were your impressions at the end of it then, from what was announced and or what wasn't announced?
I think I'm more disappointed that none of it has been made public. That, you know, stuff that was shown there, like, you know, we're nearly a week gone now. I would have liked to have seen the Indy trailer by now. And I think I would have liked to have seen Ant-Man 3's trailer by now, and I would have been happy about that. You know, it's an exclusive event. It's streamed, but very loosely. You couldn't have tuned into Indy's panel.
No, they were very selective about what they actually showed live, weren't they? Yeah.
So that's disappointing, but, you know, it's got me very excited for the next couple of years, specifically in movie world. Theme park world, slightly different. Because, you know, you can't drop everything and run to California or Florida very easily.
No,
because, you know, things cost money.
They do a bit, don't they?
So, you know, it was cool. I liked what came out. I'm looking forward to what we will be watching in the next year.
Yeah, I'll go with that. I think the Marvel stuff, there's a bit of a mix there. Obviously, the quote-unquote insiders and leakers were completely made to look like idiots, which is always good.
It's great, yeah.
It's always fun to see. Give us that Ant-Man trailer. Give us that Indy trailer. But Thunderbolts was great. It was good to get that confirmed. And I'm glad that they're bringing back some of those older characters and use them again. Because what a waste. When you got actors like Hannah John Kamen and Olga Kurylenko, and even the more recent ones like David Harbour and Wyatt Russell and Florence, if you've got them...
Calm down now.
You can use them, you know what I mean? You've tied them into 10 film contracts, right, or whatever. Get them used, because that looks like a great team, and looks like that's going to be... I know you said earlier on, like, it's Marvel's version of Suicide Squad, but it really could be that kind of... Let's talk about the second Suicide Squad, not the first one. It could really have that kind of fun element to it, that team dynamic. I think the Indy 5 stuff, just give us a trailer. Star Wars, more of the same, really. I think the only thing I'm really looking forward to is Andor, just because it looks different to the others. And then the theme park stuff, I mean, that's your bag, but
yeah, boy.
But yeah, it does seem a little underwhelming from an outsider's point of view, let's say. But
I'd happily have a conversation with anybody in the theme park industry on this podcast, and we'll take it over for a day. I think it'd be brilliant.
That suits me. I'll have the day off. That's great.
Yeah. Anybody who's a theme park fan and want to chat crap with me, give us a shout. Like Warren did. Warren got to contacted us, and we were like, absolutely, we want to talk to you, mate.
Definitely. If you are a theme park, how would you? It's not. If you're an extreme experience collector, there you go.
I've seen where you've gone with that. Okay, we might get some weird responses there, but that's okay. But no, thanks for listening.
Absolutely, no. If you're a theme park junkie and you know there's these. There are such things, aren't they? All go around and go on every new roller coaster, every new theme park. That would be something interesting to talk about, definitely. Until next time.
Yeah. Thanks, Warren. Appreciated the time, and we'll see you. Listen, fucking every fucking week. We won't see you. You'll hear us again sometime.
I'm leaving that in.
You always do.
I do, yeah.
Bye, listeners.
At least you haven't burped in this episode.
No, I did it very cleverly off mic.
Because I always do leave those in.
I know, because you're a horrendous human being.
I am, aren't I?
I'm only human. What can I have bodily functions. That's weird.
Yeah, let's leave it there.
Bye.
Bye. Stand by for the seamless last-minute insertion. So you may have noticed, as we did, after we'd finished recording, that we completely forgot about Avatar 2, which probably tells you all you need to know about our thoughts on it. Would you agree with that, Dan?
You're absolutely right, mate. I couldn't give two shits. Tidy.
Yeah, so there you go. That's the end of the seamless last-minute insertion.